I think one thing you would like about it, just hearing more of your story, and you did your darkness retreat or whatever that was, but when you were just explaining hunting and like how you were like you kind of immersed in the mountains essentially. So to be in tune, that's when you're the best hunter, is when you're just part of nature.
Yeah.
So we're from the outside, from the comforts of civilization, but when you can immerse yourself in the mountains and into that, just the mountain lifestyle, that's when it all starts to click about, okay, I'm a hunter, I'm a predator, this is prey. And you start putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and it feels, you mentioned harkening back to days of old, it feels natural. It feels like, oh shit, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what my body's designed for, this type of survival. But we're so removed from it. So I think you would really, just knowing more about you now, I think you would like really grow and just appreciate that, I would guess.
Yeah, I think so too. And we talked about my love of fly fishing, and one of my favorite things about it is that you're in nature, your phone doesn't work, and you're completely present. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what the Darkness Retreat reminds you, if anything. And there's a lot of things that you can learn in those things. And I'm not recommending it for everybody, but it is one of those checklist things that like finding your new edge on what you can get through, because the darkness really tests every part of your being. But how often in life are we just present in those moments, mm-hmm. where the only thing that matters is where I am in that moment and the connection I have to my surroundings? Because like you said, you become immersed in that environment. When you're in the raft, waiting for that special spot to work your line, to get in the perfect drift, mm-hmm. so you have a chance to hook a fish. It's you're completely dialed and present in that exact moment. And I imagine it's like hunting, where you are figuring out the best place to be, to call in the animal, to be as quiet and focused as possible. But you become a part of that. And as we've moved out of the country and into cities, we've lost that connection with nature. Mm-hmm. And if you've ever read the book about grounding, what's it called? Is it called Grounding? But it's talking about the connection that the earth has to our body. Mm-hmm. And they make grounding sheets that I actually sleep on that reorient your body with nature. Mm. And I think as we moved again out of the city, out of the rural forests and the cabins into cities, we've lost our connection with nature. Mm-hmm. And most people can't spend 5 minutes without looking at their phone and scrolling through social media and catching up on their text. And
yeah,
I just love being out there, immersed in nature and fully present and kind of unplugged. And mm-hmm. it's a catch-22, because the more I'm unplugged from, my phone, the more I am plugged in back to myself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that, and I would venture to guess that when you're shooting today at the bow rack and you're focusing on all those things you're supposed to, you probably weren't thinking about anything else other than that. Right. Yeah. And you mentioned fly fishing, but archery can be the same way. To perform archery at the highest level, you can't be distracted by anything else. You're focused on drawing that bow back, the anchor points, all the things you need to do, then releasing a perfect arrow. So you're very in tune with that moment. And as you said, it's a fleeting feeling nowadays, is just to be completely in tune and immersed. And I was curious too. Okay, so just to catch people up to speed, you were in the Darkness Retreat for 3 days, right?
Yeah, 4 nights, 5 days, 4 nights, 3 like full days. Mm-hmm. So parts of 5 days, 4 nights. So you go on the first night, eat your dinner, and then orient yourself with a room. Then you shut off the lights, and then it's pure darkness until on the 5th day in the morning, he comes and opens the door, and
there's no window,
put a blindfold. There's nothing.
No crack under the
There's
door.
There's a little bit of sound, but you're up in the mountains in a tiny little hobbit house with a bathtub, with a little yoga mat, with a meditation little bean bag, and a toilet and a sink. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, a lot of time to be alone with your thoughts. I'm thankful for that time, but it's not something that I'm signing up to do again anytime soon.
Well, so what I was curious about is, your life. Generally, people want to, put you in this box of you're a football player, which I don't know how you how you look at yourself. But anyway, I was curious, in those 4 days or 5 days, 4 nights, whatever it was, how often were you thinking about football as opposed to just life?
I mean, I start each day with meditation, and so I do a long like yoga stretch, and then I've been practicing transcendental meditation for a number of years now. So I just went into my mantras, and I would ask. My intention would be to bring to mind at the end of the meditation what I want to focus on, my thoughts for that day. So. The first 2 days were not about football. The second 2 were. So the third day was about what is life like for me as a retired player? And I think for so many of us, when we stop doing what we do, if we find our entire identity in that job or in that archetype, when it's gone, so many of us have a hard time figuring out, like, well, who am I without fill in the blank? And I think that's when depression can set in. Substance abuse can set in, lack of hope can set in. So I really wanted to sit with all the fears and insecurities I had around who am I if I'm not a football player. And so I spent the entire day, which was probably like 4 a.m. until 10 o'clock at night, thinking about life as a retired player, after football. And it really, by the end of the day, I had a beautiful piece about who I was without football. And I'm really thankful for that. And then the following day, I woke up, I did my yoga, I did my meditation, and the intention was, okay, now if I'm going to play, what do I want life to look like as a player? And so it was good, really good clarity around all that. I came out of that wanting to play. And feeling like I still had more to give, and also pretty convinced I was going to be somewhere other than Green Bay. Now, during that time, they had also decided, corresponding with my darkness retreat, whether intentional or not, that they were probably ready to move on too. And so, although it was a little bit tenuous at times, the breakup ended up happening over the next 6 weeks.